Kevin McCarthy speaking to reporters.
We have worked for a long time. I've been leader for 4 years. I came into this position and we had less than 200 members. We are now sitting in the majority.
The Republican Party is in complete shambles.
We put forth to the American public a commitment to America. There's times we're going to have to argue with our own members if they're looking at for only positions for themselves, not for the country. For the last 2 months, we worked together as a whole conference to develop rules that empower all members. But we're not empowering certain members over others. Last night I was presented the only way to have 218 votes if I provided certain members with certain positions, certain gavels, to take over the church committee, to have certain budgets. And they even came to the position where one, Matt Gaetz, said, I don't care if we go to plurality and we elect Hakeem Jeffries and it hurts the new frontline members not to get reelected. Well, that's not about America, and I will always fight to put the American people first, not a few individuals that want something for themselves.
So that was Kevin McCarthy talking about the simple fact that he is struggling to get elected as Speaker of the House. And this is really wild and hilarious because fundamentally it is the consequence of his own actions and the actions of the Republican Party in general. You see, the Republicans keep feeding this extreme right-wing base that keeps demanding increasingly unhinged policies that just fundamentally are not passable at the end of the day. And they're fundamentally demanding these extreme things that would realistically just collapse the entire United States economy. And a lot of that just goes to the fact that Republicans will say things about how the economy is supposed to work, like free markets and deregulation and all of those things. And Republican voters don't realize that they don't actually mean it, that the federal government does actually have to manage the United States economy pretty directly in order for giant companies to make the money that they do. And then, of course, there's the extreme vitriolic hatred that the extreme right is pushing, which is deeply unpopular and would undoubtedly sink the Republican Party nationally. And people like Kevin McCarthy want to push this racist rhetoric. They want to push all this hateful, bigoted nonsense, but they also want to continue to win elections, and so they keep using these dog whistles. Well, there's like 20 Republicans in Congress, though, that are done with the dog whistles and want to just push this extreme fascist agenda. And because of that, they're refusing to support Kevin McCarthy. And so by actively fostering this like fascist movement within the country, the Republican Party has put themselves in a position where a segment of their own caucus is undermining what they view as more moderate leadership. And so, like, there's just many layers of irony and ridiculous to this. One thing I want to linger on is what Kevin McCarthy said at the end, which is deeply, deeply hilarious that he's saying that, oh, this is about the American public. This is the American public. It's really not. It's about their corporate donors and the large corporations that fund these Republican campaigns, knowing kind of how the government needs to run in order for them to make giant profit. And of course, the MAGA Republicans are all about corporate profits, but they're for the corporate profits of a slightly smaller and more reactionary segment of giant corporations. And then there's just a layer of the fact that Republicans don't even care if this continues to go on. They don't care about the fact that Congress is not able to do business until there's a speaker elected, because it's not that they're really going to do anything anyways. The whole point of the Republican Party is to obstruct any type of like progress forward. And so long as tax rates remain low for big businesses and we have the military and police across the country funded, that's all they really care about. So this can go on for basically an eternity, and Republicans just simply will not care. That's why Kevin McCarthy said that he's totally fine being the person with the record most number of votes for Speaker of the House, because at the end of the day, the Republicans don't really have a plan on doing anything. I mean, seriously, all they're gonna do whenever they do finally get everything into session is just cry about Hunter Biden's laptop all day long or kick and scream about trans people existing. It's not like they have some sort of like big legislative agenda, especially with a Democratic Senate and Joe Biden as the president. But what this does speak to is the increasing division within the Republican Party and the simple fact that they are kind of falling apart and haven't been able to craft any type of coherent message outside of just blatant racism, homophobia, and transphobia. And when you layer that on top of the fact that Donald Trump is considering a third-party run, it really does look like the Republican Party is an absolute shambles. And the good news for the country is that the Republicans might completely struggle during the next presidential election to have any type of coherent message, and might even have a third-party contender, that being Donald Trump, completely undermine any type of electoral turnout nationally. But in the meantime, we have to sit here and watch all of this disaster unfold.